My name is Peter. Hello. I wish you a nice morning. Thank you for joining us. Today we had really much registrations, but at the moment it looks not so that all of them will join us, but it doesn't matter. We will record it and we'll put it, as I said, in our YouTube channel. So this presentation is about create an automated Power BI solution on Azure with the data warehouse approach. So I explain now here in some sentences Analytics Creator in a nutshell. So Analytics Creator automates a complete analytical solution, and it's made for experts. And it's also possible that non-experts can work with Analytics Creator. It works by generating source code instead of programming manually. And Analytics Creator orchestrates the lifecycle of data warehouses, data lakes, and data marts. It covers the whole design process, the development, the change process, and also the deployment. And Analytics Creator disrupts old-fashioned ETL tools, and customer reports that they achieve 10 times faster results. First of all, I want to give you some examples, customer stories, what customers achieved in the last years with Analytics Creator. These customers, the brand is not shown, but I can tell you it's a big one. It's Robert Bosch. Use Analytics Creator, I think now at 4 years, something like that. And they have done a big project in IT controlling, and they reported to us that they saved 80% time of costs. This is really amazing. And this project is now the #1 project in whole Robert Bosch with the highest number of users. So they have around about 5,000 users with Power BI and on the Microsoft stack. Yeah, that's a really amazing thing for us. So the next one is a very nice customer. Maybe some of you know My Muesli. My Muesli, as you know, maybe they are in the food environment, and they used Analytics Creator now for 5 years, I think. Yes, and when they started, they have really nothing in place. They have just some cubes, analytical cubes, but no data warehouse, and they have also no experience with data warehousing. They employed the new guy, a student from the university, and he has some experience with cubes and data warehousing. And he started with Analytics Creator, and we just trained him and the team just 4 days. 4 days in 5 years, and they do everything by themselves. So they used Analytics Creator as a learning device. Of course, if you're not an expert, you need to start much longer time. But now I think the business is running really good there, and they do nearly in all departments. They use in all departments, Analytics Creator and of course analytical solutions. So the next one is a customer in the real estate. They have really several SAP solutions in place, and they use Analytics Creator a lot. And the thing was to create ingest stores out of SAP. And they reported to us that they were 20 times faster as estimated. This is a really great thing. At first we couldn't believe it, and we tried it out and have done the same things. Then they told us, and we have done a video. You can look the video at our YouTube channel, there you will see how it works, that Analytics Creator is also 20 times faster. So the next one is about data management survey 22 from BARC. Now I would say we won in 3 times or 4 times in a row the BARC data management survey in the area data warehouse automation. We was ranked always very, very high. You see this in this chart on the right upper corner. And also SAP is there. I don't know why SAP is there. They have no automation tool, but who cares? Yeah, this is the survey. You can download the survey from our website. Now the next survey is coming out, the 23 in the next weeks. And I hope and I think that we are placed and the same position than in the last years. So visit our webpage in the next weeks and you can download the newest Data Management Survey 2023. Yeah, about our vision, we always talk about independence on our webpage. So what does it mean? So independence means for us that customers, consultants, and also partners can use the technology without a vendor lock. So if you use Analytics Creator, you can use after the subscription ends the source code wherever you want. Yeah, and there is no runtime necessary. And this is a very interesting, nice thing. So Analytics Creator is a pure design time tool. It has nothing to do while the runtime. This is a very important thing. So also we copy the transfer rights, the copyrights we transfer to you. So it's possible, and you have to take care about what other competitors are doing. You have not the possibility after the subscription ends that you use the source code on your system, and we transfer it for you with our software. Analytics Creator has one holistic metadata model, and with this one holistic data model, you can create any kind of target database in the Microsoft stack. So if you use, for example, SQL Server on premises, you use it on the cloud, or later you use it on Synapse, you have always one holistic model, and you have not to change something. This is also something which makes you independent. So we focus 100% on the Microsoft Azure stack. So we bring our 100% energy in there, and we do nothing else. So this is why we think we are one of the best, or maybe we are the best, I don't know exactly, but we've seen in some pitches that the customer reported to us that the source code we are generating and how we do it, it's really, really fancy. Also we have an open repository, so everything we create in the metadata model and the design, it's stored in an SQL database, and you can read it out and do everything what you want. Yeah, you can generate something additional, you can build add-ons, add-ins, and store your own data there for further purposes. So here's a classical chart. You see what Analytics Creator covers. So at the beginning you have the source, and we create the storage layer, the core layer, the data mart layer, also the cube layer, and also the presentation layer. So we create, you will see today, also the models for Power BI, for Tableau, and Click. But this is just an example. You can use layers how much you want and create the models however you want, and you're not bounded to any idea. This is a very important thing. So let's see what does it mean with the 5-step approach of Analytics Creator. First of all, in the first step, you have to connect to the data source. Yeah? You can do this directly through Analytics Creator, or you use a third-party tool that you bring data into the SQL database. This is also possible. And the second step, you declare the data. This is done also automatically. If you connect to the database, we read out the data definition language and also the metadata and store it somewhere, and you also with the whole connections, with the foreign keys, with the keys. But if this is not available, you have to declare it by yourself. On the third step, Analytics Creator analyzes the metadata model from the source and give you a draft version of a data warehouse and also of a dimensional model, whatever you choose. You can also choose to have a draft of a data vault model. This is also possible. After that, in the step 4, you do your modelings. You create, for example, new dimensions, new facts, new calculations, of course. This is where the real development will take place.
Hi, Peter. Sorry, but we cannot hear you. You are on mute.
Peter?
Peter?
Yeah.
Mute.
Yeah, I just recognize it, but I don't know, maybe somebody...
No, only 30 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, I know it, I see it, but anybody muted me. I don't know how this works. Okay, so we explained the step 4. That there is the place where you do the development, the data. You can also code there if you want your own code. And in the step 5, we deploy all the data, the model, the structure, and also of course we generate the full model, the packages for Visual Studio, and yeah, all the things. Yeah, this is the 5-step approach. Dimitri will show you exactly in the live presentation. I give you now some examples of use cases, how you can use Analytics Creator. Of course, the most common is the greenfield, the new construction of a data warehouse. Also, companies use this approach because it's sometimes much faster to make everything new. Yeah. Also, when you, for sure, when you have an automation technology, it's sometimes better to do something new than you set up an old data warehouse. But this existing data warehouse approach is also working very fine. We have at the moment a very nice project. I cannot say at the moment which customer it is, but I think we will be able in November to present this customer on our Analytics Creator Congress. It will be shown there how it's possible to do reverse engineering. They use a really huge data warehouse, the code of the huge data warehouse, and this will be automatically or half automatically generated or copied in Analytics Creator, that Analytics Creator can generate a new data warehouse with a modern approach. Yeah, this is really a fancy thing. Yeah. So we have a lot of customers which have SAP, and with SAP Analytics Creator is working really fine. We use there the Theobald connector, but we have also our own connector, and our own connectors not made for transporting data. It's just made for pick out the metadata of the source system of SAP, with all your special custom configurations, and we put out all the data, metadata, and create automatically a metadata layer in Analytics Creator. Yeah, this is how our connector is working, and yeah, this is a very common thing that Analytics Creator will work together with SAP. There are some videos already on our YouTube channel. Yeah, more and more customers want to change to the Azure cloud. We have also there some support to shift your existing data warehouse to Azure. This works really smoothly, and more customers want to have a near real-time platform. Also, we support this. There are some automated things in Analytics Creator, and you can achieve this. And also, some functionalities we have done special for partners. If partners do service management for a lot of customers, you can use Analytics Creator for that to deploy much more faster to the customers the solution. Also, if we have one standard data warehouse, we have, for example, software companies, vendors, they have Analytics Creator on top of their ERP system, and they deploy to 20, 30, 50 customers at the same time through the cloud, the new version of the data warehouse and the changes. And also you can add your own special configuration and changes. Yeah, that's it from my side. Now I will give the token to Dimitri to the presentation.
Okay, then I will continue. Wait a moment, I will present my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Can you confirm, please?
Yes.
Okay, then let me start Analytics Creator, and we will try to create a data warehouse from scratch and publish it on Microsoft Azure. We will create the Azure SQL Server database and Power BI data model. And this is our goal for today. Okay, I started the Analytics Creator, and now I will create the new data warehouse project. GMO, call it GMO Azure, for example. Okay, new repository. This is a database containing the data warehouse definition, will be created right now. This database is located on my on-premise SQL Server, located on my computer. This database you can access every time, and this database contains a full definition of our data warehouse. Okay, the new data warehouse repository was created, and you can see this is an empty project, and we will start with adding of data connector. Let me see. Let me start SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, I will connect to our demo server, and oops. The moment, the wrong one that connected to analysis services. I will connect to database. Oops, database engine. Moment. Very good. Well, we have AdventureWorks 2019 database on my SQL Server, and I will use it as a data source for my data warehouse. And first I will add connector, connector name, call it AV for AdventureWorks. And we have to define connection string. Server name is demo, and database name is AdventureWorks 2019. Well, test connection established successfully. And now we have different ways how we can create the new data warehouse. We can import tables, create historizations, create transformations step by step, or we can use the data warehouse wizard. Data warehouse wizard, this is a tool of Analytics Creator which will help you to very briefly create the data warehouse draft version based on the metadata which we can read from the data source. Okay, I select the connector which I will use to create the data warehouse, and we will take some tables from human resources schema. Okay, let me check. Okay, I think department employee, yes. We will use some tables from the employee department, human resources schema. Well, we will create the classical Kimball data model. We can here select between different architectures. Classic is Kimball, data load is data load. We have one additional architecture. This is a mix between Kimball and data vault approach, but at the moment we will use classical Kimball modeling. Okay, what we will do, we will import the tables, we will historicize the tables, we will create dimensions from every table, and we will create some transformations for employee department history, pay history, and job candidate tables. Okay, next, on the next screen, we can define how the objects in the data warehouse will be named. For example, dimensions will have dim prefix in the front, fact transformation will have fact prefix in the front, and so on. Okay, here we can define some additional options. For example, we will create a calendar dimension. Okay, just let's click on finish, and the wizard now is analyzing the metadata of the source tables, which we will use in our data warehouse, and created for us this draft version of the data warehouse, and now we can modify it for our as we will. Okay, let's take a look on this diagram closely. This is a typical layer diagram of the data warehouse. On the left side, you can see the sources used in data warehouse. Okay, for example, if I click on the source, I can see the structure of the source. This is a department table from the schema human resources. There are the column names and so on. Okay, nothing specific. Then there is a staging layer containing, we import the data from the source into the staging layer. In the staging layer, we have the tables called like the source tables, having the same structure like the source tables. Now, this is a department table in the schema import, and well, nothing specific. We just import all data from the source table into the staging layer. Import will be done using, for example, integration service packages or integration or pipelines, Azure pipelines. If we click on this IP squares, we can see the definition of the import. Here we can see this is a mapping between the source and target columns. The department ID column will be stored in department ID column in the target table. We can define here some additional import properties. For example, we can define different filters. Filters can be the filter can use, for example, variables to organize the differential data loading or delta loading, and so on. We can define here additional scripts which can be started prior and after the data import. Can define some additional options. Anyways, this is just import, and to import the data, we can generate the integration service packages, which will import the data, or we can generate Azure Data Factory pipelines if you will use Azure Data Factory as a tail engine. Well, and the next step, we historicize the data. You can see this persistent staging layer containing the historized data. It is not necessary to historize the data, but it is, I would say, very good if you historize the data and create a persistent staging layer containing the historized data. In the if we take a look on the historization table, for example, department table, this table has the same columns like the department table in the data source, and 3 additional fields. 2 of them, this .phone hist and .pis, is this valid from and valid to dates. They contain the validity period of specific data row. And additionally, we have here one more column, this identity column called that's ID. This is a typical surrogate key. This is the typical Kimball approach in the data warehouse modeling. After we imported the data, we compare the data which we import with the data stored in the historizer table. We detect the changes and store the changes in the historization table, but the previous versions of the data will be not deleted usually, but they remain in the historizer table staying, and we have every time access to the previous versions of our data. We can always see which data we had in the past and which changes were done. Were made in our data. And historization will be done using historization package or historization pipeline. Click on this HP square, we can see the definition of the historization. Historization can be configured by Analytics Creator very widely. You have a lot of parameters which you can change in the historization. For example, for every column, you can decide which historization type you will use for specific column. There are 3 historization types. CD2, this is a full historization. That means if the column was changed, the history of the change that will be for this column will be stored in the historization table. Sometimes it's not necessary to store historization for some unimported columns, and in this case, for example, you can change the historization type of the column to a CD1. In this case, if only this column was changed, the historized data will be changed too, but no history will be stored in the historization table. Or I can say none. That means the changes in specific column will be not detected, and in case the column is absolutely unimportant for you. You can define some additional filters, for example, for historization. You can decide what you will do with the missing data. This is sometimes very important because how you will act in case the data which are available in the historization table is missing in the imported table. You can say close, that means that validity period will be closed. You can say do not close. Have one additional property, attempt to record. Anyway, historization can be configured very widely. And to perform this historization, we generate the stored procedures, and the text of the stored procedures which will generate, you can see it here. This text will be created based on the definition of historization, and well, nothing specific. But in case you can even change the stored procedure. For example, if you click on manually create a stored procedure, you can modify the text of this historization stored procedure, and therefore you have full access to how the data will be historized. You can add some additional scripts which will be executed for prior and after historization, and so on. Okay, then the next layer, this is a core layer. In this core layer, we convert the data stored in the persistent staging layer into the facts and dimensions. Well, for example, let's take a look on this team department transformation. This blue square, this is a transformation, and Usually, the transformation in Analytics Creator, this is a view. It is not okay. Usually, this is a view. We support different types of transformations. For example, it can be a view, it can be storage procedure, it can be a SQL service, a SQL script, it can be manually created integration service package, for example, or even exe or CMD file, which can be executed separately. But usual transformation analytics creator, this is a view. In this case, this is a regular transformation. We create the definition of the transformation, and Analytics Creator generates the view text for us. We can see this view was generated by Analytics Creator. And in this transformation, we can see there is only one table used in this transformation, as STG department, and every column from this table department will be exposed by this view, and well, nothing specific. The only thing I will show you, this is a predefined transformations. Let me delete every predefined transformation, and we will see how the predefined transformations are working. Now I removed all predefined transformation. Let me take a look on my view. I see here we expose every column from the CG department table as is. Okay, here at the bottom, this is just one additional data row created because this option create unknown member was selected. This is typical for data warehouse approach. This unknown member will be usually used to avoid the missing data rows and dimensions. But this is just the exposing of every column from the table by the view. Let me add the predefined transformation, for example, the string transformation. And let's take a look on the view. And we can see that, for example, every varchar and varchar column gets this rtrim, ltrim functions to remove the leading and trailing spaces and the names. Okay, the predefined transformations, this is transformations based on the field type. We have several predefined transformations already defined. You can define your own predefined transformations and for example, string type and so on. As I said, predefined transformations will be applied to every column in your transformation in case based on specific field type. For example, I added here some transformations like trim, like string null to an a, which convert the null values to n.a value, which convert the string max to varchar 8000, for example, or varchar 4000. And we can see here, for example, name, we remove the trailing spaces and leading spaces. We convert the null values into n.a and so on. This is pretty easy, but pretty powerful. Sometimes instead to analyze every column type and add such common transformations, you can use a predefined transformation to save time. Okay, then let's take a look on the fact transformation. I will set filter. If I set the filter, I will show only the objects depending on the filtered object. And here we can see the fact transformation created by Analytics Creator. We said the wizard analyzed the metadata and relations between the tables and the data source and created this fact transformation for us. Let's take a look on this fact transformation. We combine here the 4 tables: employee department history, containing the information which employer worked in which department, and additionally there is a shift information. Well, Analytic Creator recognized that employee department history has N-to-1 relationships to department, employer, and shift tables, and created this fact transformation for us. We can see here these 4 tables. On the right side, we can see the relationships between the tables imported from the source data base. And here on the top, we can see the surrogate keys from every historized table. This is a typical factless fact transformation. We only expose the surrogate keys from every dimension, and this fact transformation combines the 4 dimensions together. And this is okay, pretty typical. Okay, what I will do additionally, for example, okay, if I take a look at, that's very important, every table here, this is a historized table, and it is pretty difficult to join the historized tables, because every the primary keys are not unique. The typical primary keys are not unique in the historized table, because for every primary key we can have different versions of the specific data row. And to solve this problem, we use the different historization types which can be used when we join the historized tables together. If we take a look on the view generated by Analytics Creator, you can see this view. You can see there is, for example, employee department history table, department table, employee, and shift. But on the top we can see the table called CFG snapshots, and this table will be used if we use a snapshot historization. This snapshot table contains at least one data row with the current date. There is a column date in the snapshot table, and in this column date you can find the date, and at least one data row is every time in this CFG snapshot table containing the actual date. And if we join the tables, you can see this where condition, this join condition, snapshot date between date from and date to. Using this join condition, we get from every historization table the data which were actual for specific snapshot date, in our case for today. And this is a condition which will be used to join every table. And this fact transformation, if we have only actual date in the snapshot transformation, will give us the actual facts which we can later estimate, evaluate, and so on. But we can add more dates to the snapshot table. For example, end of the last month, and the July, June, May, and so on. We can add more dates in the past. And in this case, this transformation will give us not only the actual facts, but the facts which were actual in the past, which are the old versions of your data. And later we can use the snapshot dimension, because Analytics Creator will create the snapshot dimension for us to switch between the actual data and the previous versions of your data. And many of our customers use this functionality, which allow you to access the previous versions of your data directly from your OLAP cubes, from your reports. You can add some very interesting controlling possibilities to when you will compare, for example, the previous versions of the data with the actual versions of the data. And sometimes it can provide you the time axis timeline or additional timeline for your data warehouse. This is a snapshot transformation. Anyway, it is not necessary to use snapshot transformation. For example, you can, if I switch this historization type to actual only and save, I can see my transformation, my view is changed, and there is no snapshot transformation. There is one additional condition that PChist or valid 2 is 99991231. This is the attribute. Okay, using this where condition, we get only the actual data from every historized table. But snapshot historization is really very, very powerful, and we recommend to use it in your data warehouses. Well, remove filter. What I will additionally do, for example, every transformation here, this is a view, and sometimes it is necessary to speed up access to the view. To do that, we can add the persisting transformations or view materialization. Okay, let me do it. I can materialize or persist the views and the table. Okay, there's one. And I will do it for free fact transformation at persisting. This one. And at persisting. Okay, and now I click on the Synchronize DWH button. Synchronize DWH button is very important. When we click on the Synchronize DWH, this model which we created will be materialized. Analytics Creator will create the data warehouse, the developer version of the data warehouse based on this model, and get some information from this created data warehouse back into the data warehouse model. We can take a look on this data warehouse created during synchronization. Wait a moment. Our repository, the name of the repository was demo Azure, and there is a database created during synchronization. This is DWH demo Azure. This is the data warehouse. Okay, this is a database having the structure of our data warehouse. You can see here the table, the import table, historization tables. You can see here the persisting tables. You can see here different views and so on. Important is this is not the data warehouse. This is developer version of the data warehouse, which is which will be created every time, which will be created new every time when you click on Synchronize DWH. And additionally, if we do some errors, for example, in the definition, for example, I will add here the column containing something wrong. My view looks like, okay, we have here the strange columns, a strange line in the view definition, but I can store it and can save my transformation. And when I click on Synchronize DWH, I see there is some errors during synchronization. I can see invalid column name, in the transformation, and well, we can see this red border around the wrong transformation. We should. Okay, I would get the same error if I click on this button, create an DWH, invalid column name, and I have to fix my the error. Save, create an DWH, successful, synchronize DWH again, and okay, my data warehouse has no error at the moment. Okay, what I will additionally do, I have here this dim calendar dimension, and dim calendar dimension is this is a typical calendar dimension created for us by analytics creator for us, and we will use this calendar dimension in our fact transformation. For example, employee department history table transformation for table has some data columns. Let's take a look. This is, for example, start date and end date. Two data columns, but I will expose in my fact transformation not the date, but ID from calendar dimension. And to do that, I can use the macros. Let me show you how it works. Macro, this is one of the interesting and useful features of Analytics Creator. In the column statement, I can add something which will be used later, which will be used in my in my view instead of the column. So I can replace the column by the statement which I can put here, and you can see I used in the statement as a statement the macro, this macro date to ID, this is this side and the front, and the macro is very something very simple and very powerful. Let me show you how the macros work. We have the macro date to ID. Macro, see. Macros, this is just a SQL Server statement. Okay, not only SQL Server support different languages, but in our case, this is a SQL Server statement, and some parts in this statement were replaced by placeholders. This $1, this is just a placeholder, and you can see this $1 on some places. And when we call the macro, the $1 will be replaced by the first parameter of the macro. Call. And here you can see first we compare if the first parameter, this date which we use with the macro, is less than 1980 and then 0. If it is greater than, okay, this is just the checking of the boundary conditions of the specific for calendar dimension. And otherwise, we calculate the number of days between the 1980, the 1st January of 1980, and the date which we provide as the first parameter. And this is our ID from calendar dimension, which we use. And as I said, this is just the SQL Server statement. Some parts of the statements were replaced by this placeholder. You can see as many parameters as you wish. If you will use, for example, the second parameter, you should have here the $2 somewhere, and so on. And here we use this macro in our transformation, this date to ID. And if we take a look on the view generated, we can see this macro call was replaced by the macro text, and $1 was replaced by the start date. This is a macro call, the first parameter of the parameter which we used to call this macro. And this macro will return the ID from calendar dimension. And calendar dimension in our case, this is, let me show you the calendar dimension. Calendar dimension in our case, this is a transformation. This is just a view. This is a view which will provide us with the calendar dimension. Deliver the rows for specific time period, nothing specific. Okay, you can modify it if you will extend it, please. You can add additional columns. This is only the standard calendar dimension which can be modified, of course. Okay, and now we created this calendar dimension. Let me take a look on our data mart layer. The data mart layer, yes, we added the calendar dimensions to the effect transformation. And now let's take a look on the data mart layer. I will set the filter. The data mart layer, this is the interface layer of our data warehouse, and it contains the facts and dimensions. Every facts and dimension, technically, this is again the view. If I take a look on this, for example, team department, I can see this is just the view. Okay, select every column from team department from the core layer. If I take a look on this employee department history, I can see all columns from the employee department history. Let me synchronize the data warehouse. We just added two columns which are bound to the calendar dimension, and Analytics Creator recognized it, and we can see the calendar dimension now is bound to our fact transformation. And how this relationships are working, let me click on this T-square. This is a tabular definition of my view. We can see all columns exposed by this fact transformation for this view. And you can see, for example, here FK department column, and we can see here this column all preference. We can see this FK department is bound to team department table, employees bound to team employee table, and so on. And we can see here two columns, FK start date and FK end date, and Analytics Creator found that FK start date contains IDs from calendar dimension and bound it to the dim calendar dimension, but FK end date is not bound because you cannot bind two different columns and the fact transformation with the same dimension. And in our case, we will create the new dimension based on dim calendar. We will call it dim end date. Oops, sorry, dim end date. And okay, let me call it end date, start date. I use friendly names because friendly names will be later used in our OLAP cubes as attribute names. Okay, and let me synchronize the data warehouse. And now I can see my employee department history is bound to two calendar dimensions. One of them called team calendar, another one called team end date. Let me change the name of team calendar because it is a start date for me. To do that, I go into the team calendar in the core layer. Here in the definition, I have to change the name of the start transformation to the start date. Okay, and synchronize the WAHA. Okay, now we have start and end date, and what we additionally have to do if we will create, for example, Power BI OLAP views, maybe we have to add some measures. Okay, remove filter. Let me add some measures. I select my fact transformation in the data mart layer. I click on this T-square. This is a tabular definition of my fact transformation, and I go into the measures and let me add some measures. For example, distinct count of department, distinct count of employer. Okay, I would say it's not. You can see here, sure you can call the measures by yourself, but it is important every measure name should be unique in the tabular OLAP cubes, and to provide to help you to name your transformations. You can use the templates for the marker names. For example, in our case, we have the template aggregation name of the column name and table name. You can define your own templates, no problem. And here on the right side, you can see the parsed measure name, distinct count of department, and then fact employee department history. Okay, we created 2 measures. Let me get some more measures to other facts. For example, this is employee pay history. This is the history of employment salaries. And we can here add, for example, distinct count of employer and go into the job candidate and add one more dimension. It is distinct count of employer again. Very well. Okay, and well, I would say our data warehouse is almost ready. Let me save it. I can save this definition either in the file. I can say save to file. Okay, or I can save it in cloud. Every analytics data user has his own account in our cloud and can store own repositories in the cloud. And every time when you store your repository, the previous version of the repository will be not replaced but remain stored. For example, if I save my repository again, save cloud again, and I click on the load from cloud, there is demo Azure. You can see as this demo Azure exists, okay, 3 times, because I already created such a repository somewhere, and you have always access to the previous versions of your repository stored in the cloud. Okay, but what we did, this is just the model, and now we can deploy this model, and we will deploy this model in the cloud. You can deploy this model on premise. You can deploy this model partially on premise and on cloud, or nur in cloud. For example, you can create your database on premise and then only use, for example, Power BI Premium to publish your tabular OLAP model, or you can publish everything on premise. You can use, okay, anyway, you have the, you can decide by yourself which part of the data warehouse where should be published on premise or in the cloud. In our case, I will use our SQL Server Azure instance. Let me show you. We have the SQL Server instance. In this SQL Server, we have the database called AV. This database is empty now. You can see this database has no data, has no tables, has no views. And I will publish my data warehouse in this AV database. Then, additionally, we have moment. We have analysis services. We have Power BI Premium. This Power BI Premium, this is very nice feature of Microsoft. You can access the Power BI Premium, provide you with the XMLA endpoint. This is like the tabular OLAP server for us, and we can publish our tabular models in this XMLA endpoint, and then you can use this published database as data source for your Power BI reports. It's a very nice feature. You can save a lot of money if you use this Power BI Premium, because instead of, for example, analysis service database, analysis service, because analysis service databases in the cloud are pretty expensive, And Power BI Premium costs much less. If you use, for example, for user-based licenses, I think it costs about 17 euro or dollar per month per user. I think it's pretty cheap, and you can publish your tabular all cubes in the Power BI on the Power BI Premium. And wait a moment, I will show you. One moment, please. I will show you our Power BI Premium environment, Microsoft Power BI. Exactly, this is our Power BI. And in this Power BI, we have the workspace. This is AV workspace created especially for demo purposes. This workspace now is empty. And important is this is the premium work. Stop. Okay. This is the premium. Can I see it? Okay, this is the premium workspace, and we can access this workspace using this XML endpoint. Additionally, we have Azure Data Factory. Wait a moment, I will show you the Azure Data Factory, which we will use as the ETL engine. We will publish on the Azure Data Factory some pipelines. This Azure Data Factory now is empty. For example, you can see there is no pipelines, no data sets. The only what we have, no linked servers, the only what we have in this Azure Data Factory, we defined two integration runtimes. One of them is the auto-resolve integration runtimes used to work with the Azure cloud environment, and integration server runtime demo is bound to our demo server and will be used to get the data from AdventureWorks database located on our demo server. Okay, this is an environment where we will deploy our data warehouse. Okay, and now we will create the deployment package. Deployment package. This is the result of our development. Okay, demo Azure. We will call it demo Azure. This deployment package. This is a Visual Studio solution created by Analytics. We can take a look on the solution later. And here, okay, we can decide what we will do. First, we will create the DECWork file. DECWork files, this is the most modern way how to deploy the SQL Server databases. This is the file containing the definition of your data warehouse, and it can be published. It can be published everywhere, on premise or on Microsoft Azure. And okay, we will create the database name where we'll deploy. This is AV and connection string. Let me take connection string from. Okay, this is a connection string. Sorry, not connection string, the server name as Analytics created database Windows.net. This is the address of our server on Microsoft. Okay, we'll use standard security, my credentials. Very well. We will deploy the pack. Okay, allow data loss, drop object. Okay, allow compatible platform. Then we will create the pipelines. You can see you can create either integration service packages or Azure Data Factory pipelines, or both. Okay, in our case, we need only Azure Data Factory pipelines. And then we will create, okay, let me change the compatibility level. Okay, and then we will create the XML script and publish it on our Power BI server. Wait a moment, I will. Okay, get the server name. Okay, database name, we'll call it AV. Okay, login this is my login.
Music licensing reimagined.
.com, my password. Okay, process cube during, create cube during deployment, yes. A very important compatibility level is Power BI. And okay, I think we forgot nothing. The perspective is okay, save. And well, let me check if everything seems to be okay. And I will deploy. And now Analytics Creator is creating deployment package and deploying. It is not necessary to deploy directly from Analytics Creator. Usually we deploy only into the development or test environments. To deploy into the productive environment, you can do it separately. For example, to deploy DECPAC files, you can use the specific utility from Microsoft, SQL package.exe. To deploy your OLAP cubes, you just have to open Management Studio, load generated XML script and deploy it. No problem. And well, but Analytics Creator can deploy by himself. Okay, OLAP, let me see, OLAP cube, create OLAP, yeah, seems to be okay. Okay, I think the deployment is complete. Let me take a look on our environment. Refresh. Okay. Okay, this is our AV database where we deploy it into, and now we can see this database is not empty. Now we have all the tables and views. Analytics Creator deployed this AV database. Okay, then Power BI, refresh. Okay, we have this connector now. Not connector, data source, AV. Very good. Okay. We deployed our OLAP cube into the Power BI Professional. And what we still have to do, Analytics Creator created for us the ARM template, and we have deployed this ARM template to the Azure Data Factory. Let me open, this is our Azure Data Factory. Now it is empty. And we have to deploy the ARM template generated by Analytics Creator into the Azure Data Factory. Import ARM template. Okay. You build your own ARM template, load file. Okay, I opened the directory created by Analytics Creator. Okay, and this our ARM template. This is this one, demo Azure JSON. This is the ARM template generated by Analytics Creator, and save. Okay, Analytics Creator. Our moment, I forgot the name of our AC factory. Okay, yes, factory. Exactly. This is the name of our factory, Azure Data Factory instance. Review and create. Validation passed and create. Okay, now this ARM template created by Analytics Creator was imported into the Azure Data Factory, and let's take a look on our Data Factory. Microsoft Data Factory. Well, now we can see here the different data sets, the different pipelines. Very well. First, but we have here do something. We have here two linked server, One of them is AV. This is our data source linked server, and TWH. This is a target Azure database, and we have to map these two linked services to and according integration runtimes. TWH should be okay. Already integration bound to auto resolve integration runtimes. Okay, from Azure subscription. Okay, Microsoft Partner Network, server name, Analytics Creator, database AV. This is our database which we just created or just deployed. This is our target database. Authentication type is SQL authentication. Username is password is okay. Test connection successfully, apply. And the second one, this is our AV. This is a AdventureWorks database located on our demo server, and we have to bound it to the integration runtime demo. This is our integration runtime bound to running on our demo server. Server name demo, AdventureWorks 2019, very good. Windows authentication. Okay, I forgot at the moment. Sorry, I forgot my credentials. Check. Okay, demo administrator. Good. Okay, I think I have more, but okay, demo administrator. Demo administrator. Okay. Maybe the wrong password. One moment. Connection successfully. Okay, apply. Very good. Now we bound our two linked server to according integration runtimes. Okay, save. Okay, let's take a look on the pipelines which we generated to import, to historize, to persist the data. First, we have here one workflow package. Workflow package or workflow pipeline in our case. This is the pipeline which should be executed to fulfill the complete ETL process. In this workflow pipeline, first we execute the import pipeline, we execute the historization pipeline, and then we execute the persistation pipeline. Usually the workflow package can be very, very complex because usually you have much more different pipelines, and a workflow package will execute every pipeline in the correct order with the correct dependencies and so on. Okay, import pipeline is pretty easy. We have here, we import the data from 6 different tables. Every here we use just the copy pipeline or copy data brick to import the data and so on. Anyway, this is a typical integration service, typical Azure Data Factory ETL definition. Nothing specific, only we generated automatically from Analytics data. And go into the workflow package and let me execute it. Okay, and now we started our workflow package, and okay, let's take a look at what happens. Import is in progress, and
music licensing reimagined.
okay, on. We have to wait a little bit. Okay, import was successful. Now its historization is in progress. persisting as materialization is in progress, and okay, come on.
Music licensing reimagined.
Still working. Okay, you can see every pipeline. The pipelines were executed, and let's take a look on the data in our AdventureWorks database. For example, imp employer, select top 1000 rows, and you can see this AV database now has data. Okay, there is one more thing which we have to do. I open our Azure, our Power BI, and this you can see now in our Azure AdventureWorks workspace, AV workspace, we have this AV. Sorry, we have this AV data set, and the only what we have to do is to enter the credentials, because credentials should be added manually. We cannot provide our model with credentials automatically. Credentials should be created manually. Okay, there. Okay, I have. Okay, credentials were updated, and now we can, for example, wait a moment, AdventureWorks, let me refresh the data. I started to refresh the data in our OLAP cube, in our Power BI model. This is the OLAP cube for us, and check refreshed. Seems to be the refresh seems to be okay. And now what we can do? Okay, we can create the reports. I would create this. Yeah, I can create a small report, maybe. Or let me, for example, open Power BI desktop, connect to this, or what I can do, for example, this which works. Let me create quick insights. I think this is must. This is the easiest way to show you that the data are in the data in this data set. This data set contains now this data, and Power BI will create the quick insight for our. Okay, you can see the data are in the data warehouse, and we just created from scratch the data warehouse using analytics aids, the data warehouse model, and published it into the Microsoft Azure. And now we're using SQL Server Azure Databases data storage, Data Factory as a tail engine, and Power BI Premium as the front end tool, and as tabular OLAP server. Okay, I think I'm done with my presentation. If you have questions, please, I can answer them. Peter?
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Thank you, Dimitri, for this nice presentation. Very good. So if anybody has a question, sometimes there are 3 weeks between. We have live presentations, demos like this one we have today. And especially at the 10th of November, we have our Analytics Creator Congress. Yeah, it takes place in 2 days, every day, 3.5, 4 hours. we will have there 10 different presentations or slots, and I hope you can join there. It'd be great. For sure, there will be a lot of people will be there. Last year we had many attendees there, and I hope in November we'll have the same. So we have some questions to Dimitri. Also, you can ask commercial questions, no problem.
And I would recommend you can just download the trial version of Analytics Creator. It's very easy, and you can try to create such data warehouse by yourself. It's really
sure.
Very easy. We have a lot of videos. We have demo databases stored in your account, and you can reproduce this demo by yourself. And it is pretty easy and can be interesting for you.
Also, we have an online tutorial wiki. There is a link for this wiki in the email when you start with the trail. You can get the trail message. This wiki explained in this page, it will be explained step by step how Analytics Creator works, and you can go through in half day, and you will understand for sure how it works. And if you have some findings or questions, you can call us, and Dimitri will help you, or another partner of us will help you too, no problem. Yes, so that's it. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you soon in the next week. No, the next week we have nothing, but the week after we have the next session. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye.